1,000 times because we can afford the salary cap. We have the draft picks to move them, and also a defensive back in the name of Josh Jackson, a fourth or fifth, and bring in Sanu. Just for example, I think Sanu would add a whole new extra 2 pages of offense to this playbook because he's a very, very well polished route runner. 2, Atlanta doesn't use him enough. 3, he has really good hands. And also, 2, he has the IQ to play football because he used to be a quarterback. He can diagnose things as a wide receiver, kind of like an Adams level or a Jordy Nelson level on the field for that IQ level. And it's like having a second quarterback in the offense. And I think Sanu would be worth it. That's just my guy I'd want.
So obviously, though, to get a guy like him, got to trade. I mean, what do you?
Josh Jackson and a fourth.
Okay.
We have not used Jackson at all today or last week. Minimal snaps the week before. He's a second-round pick still. Atlanta needs defensive backs. They're a bleeding gash of wounds in the secondary. They got slaughtered by LA today. Arizona put a hurting on them.
They primarily play zone cover 3, which is what Jackson came from in Iowa, which is where he played the best. And that's why he's not on the field a lot and why they play him more at safety because they play primarily man.
Not good at man to man.
And his hips just aren't greasy enough to flip around and run with guys at this point. It's not that he won't be able to do it later, but it's just not what his strong suit is. And so they do play him primarily in a lot of zone coverages.
And Ryan,
he likes to keep his eye on the quarterback too. He's that type of defensive back.
And we have Shannon Sullivan. We have Kadar Hallman. We still have Tony Brown that just got off of the injury report. He's waiting to. He's really close to playing.
He was on the field today.
Oh, did he today?
Yeah, he was number 28. He almost got.
I know who 28 is. I know that jersey number. Believe me, I was just.
He got almost got in a fight. They had to pull him.
Oh, yeah. Okay, all right. That slipped my mind. I'm sorry. Anyways, so Tony's back on the field. It just adds more to my point here. We have 3 defensive backs behind King and Alexander that can play corner. No problem. Questions asked. Jackson is expendable. Trade him for a fourth.
And
get
Abraham
Sanu,
Campbell coming back to take his safety spot. So.
As a safety. Yeah. I'm just saying as a cornerback depth. I mean, you have 5 right off the bat. So, I mean, they're all talented. They've all shown they can play. Jackson is expendable, Ryan. That's one thing I'd move is third. Screw it. 3rd and Jackson for Sanu. Gladly. And we have the cap room to afford him.
I don't know what Sanu's contract situation is, though.
Well,
Sanu
this year
is making,
he would
I believe,
be about
6.5.
Yes, but because of the trade scenario and how that works, because of the money that would stay with Atlanta, he would go about $4 million against our cap this year, and about $6.5 million against the cap next year. I mean,
actually, he'd be prorated for 3.75. I already looked that up.
There you go.
He'd be cheaper next year.
So, he's just not.
That's a big difference. That's a big difference than Emmanuel Sanders.
Bingo. Cap. $12 million. No, thank you.
Yeah. So, and Sanu is familiar with this offense because of the Shanahan and LaFleur coached him. Was on that staff with him down there in Atlanta. So there's familiarity too.
But we also got to see how Ryan Grant does. He's been in this offense in Washington, too, with McVay, Shanahan, LaFleur, all there on the coaching staff.
That's what I said. When you added Ryan Grant, I really think it meant that you didn't have to go make anything else because you got a veteran guy that, let's be real, I made this point before. Ryan Grant has never played with anybody close to an Aaron Rodgers, so we have no idea what Ryan Grant's ability is.
Not even close.
He has shown flashes with guys like Kirk Cousins and Colt McCoy and blah, 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 blah.
He played with Derek Carr, played 3 games in Oakland this year.
He showed some flashes, but none of those guys, I mean, they're not on the same mountain freaking, they're not in the same mountain range as Aaron Rodgers. So we really don't know what a veteran like Ryan Grant is even capable of other than what we've seen of his flashes. But hell, you just don't. So yeah, anything done to me is just pure. If I'm talking to Packer fans, Ryan, I say this: if they make a move it's speaking to the Packer fans and to the players from the front office, to the players and coaches, that we're all in. We're not satisfied. We're not trying to make the playoffs and win a game or two. We want to be in the Super Bowl. We want a ring this year. I think, and I don't think if they don't do anything, that's not being said. I think it's just that they couldn't get the right trade. Because this is also not a team that I believe that's going to go, oh, we really need this guy, or, well, we really would like that guy, so we're going to overpay him. I think they're in a position right now where if they can get a quality trade that keeps their first and second and even third round pick, but for sure their first and second round picks over the next couple of years, and still add a veteran quality player that is icing on the cake that they believe can really help them down the stretch, I think they'll do that. Otherwise, I think they'll stay pat. I think that's what I would say if I'm speaking directly to Packer fans.
Yeah. Yeah, I think prior to signing Ryan Grant, I was definitely wanting to look at trading for a receiver. I was just getting frustrated with the drops and the just little things that just, I don't know. I thought they needed to add a little bit more juice. I feel like they have a lot of the same type of, build and bodies out there at wide receiver, and I felt like we were lacking some of that. And I think Ryan Grant, to me, is a little bit different from those receivers, those other receivers that we have. I think he is a little bit more quick twitch. He's got pretty good hands. I think he can play in the slot, and I think he's shown glimpses that he can be a decent player. Now, obviously, hey, he's floating out there as a free agent for a reason, right? He hasn't put it all together. It hasn't been consistent, but I also think that, like, we just complimented the way that LaFleur and the coordinators are properly using their players and their skill sets. And I think that they'll be able to take a guy like Ryan Grant and put him in positions to succeed. And then he also, like you said, has a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers thrown it to him, which he's never had. That I think there's some potential there. I'm curious to see what it looks like. I hope we get to see him next week.
I think he should be able to play. Get a couple of snaps in.
A lot of it's going to depend on overall health with everybody else too. But if he can get in there and get a couple plays under his belt, I really want to see what he can do, because I kind of like his skill set, especially compared to the rest of the wide receivers on this roster and within this offense. So
it's like he's a successful Trevor Davis of the slot, is what I see. He's had a lot of splash plays in the past at slot for him.
Yeah.
The thing about Ryan Grant is, like we've all said, we've all seen the flashes, and so the flashes intrigue you because those flashes all came with guys that aren't Aaron Rodgers. And so it intrigues you to say, if this guy can do that with those guys, what can he do? Because let's be real here. None of the coaches he really played under, because I don't think he was there with Shanahan, was he?
He was.
Was he?
He was with Shanahan, McVay, and LaFleur.
Is that who drafted him then? So, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought it was he was there at the end when Shanahan left. He only had like maybe 1 year or whatever. But so, yeah, I mean, he's only had really a one good coaching staff. I mean, so we'll see.
Yeah,
it's intriguing.
We'll see. I'm definitely not on the train where we absolutely have to trade for a receiver at this point. I wanted it earlier a couple weeks ago, just because I was freaking out about losing number one wide receiver and not thinking that the other guys were up to speed yet. But I mean, at this point, especially with like what you probably got to give up, I just, if it happens, fine. I'll probably be fine with it, but it's not necessarily something I need. So, moving on, I want to know what you guys think on where do the Packers stand right now within the NFC and within the NFL? Like, where would you rank them right now?
Jay, do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
Go ahead, bud.
All right. I'm going to go through, and I'm at number one right now. I'm going to go through, and I'm going to say the scariest team out there, and I know it's probably a shock to y'all, or probably not to Jay. I don't know if it is to you, Ryan, but I'm going to put 49ers at one. I think they're the most complete team. I really do. I think their defense is better than the Patriots. I think I think Garoppolo is playing better QB than Tom Brady right now. Tom Brady has shown a lot of signs of decline this year. All he's throwing is screen dump offs, flat routes. There's been far and few between of big old deep ball passes that we've seen year in and year out. I'm going to put the Patriots at 2, but San Fran, with that defense and that nasty running game they got,
just said NFC,
Garoppolo,
though, Dave. Just NFC.
Oh, NFC?
Just NFC.
Yeah, well, yeah, just the NFC for right now.
Oh, NFC, I'll put San Fran at 1. No doubt. Sorry about that, y'all.
Okay.
My
so
bad.
San Fran at 1.
I'm going to put Packers at 2.
Where do you have the Saints and the Vikings?
I have the Saints right after the Packers because they have gone 5-0 without Drew Brees. Their defense looks dang good. They ran the ball well with Latavius Murray with Kamara out. So their top 2 weapons in Brees and Kamara out, no problem. They won Chicago today. By the way, little tip. I'll get to that in a little bit. I'm going to ignore that right now. But there's a team I want everyone to kind of look at that I think sneaking up. I'm going to hold the Vikings at 4 for now. But 5, I got Carolina Panthers. Their defense is really good. Kyle Allen's the real deal. He's 5-0. Christian McCaffrey is a certified stud. Curtis Samuel is proving to be a wide receiver 1. DJ Moore is stepping up in his year 2. Greg Olsen is the ageless one. Panthers are a team people don't want to sleep on, and I'm looking forward to that matchup at Lambeau here in a couple, about 3 to 4 weeks. I think Panthers are a team people cannot sleep on, and especially the Saints, because the Panthers can play some ball.
I'm surprised you have the 49ers at 1. I wouldn't put them there. I guess I'll jump in on this. I've got the Saints at 1. I had the Packers at 2. I'd have the Niners at 3 and the Vikings at 4. I'm not really sure on after that. I haven't seen enough of Carolina to really assess what you just did, Dave. But I just think the fact that the Saints are winning without Drew Brees, I mean, that tells you a lot about the rest of that team. I think that defense is pretty dang good. They get after the quarterback, and I think they've got. I mean, shoot, they won at Chicago without Alvin Kamara and without Drew Brees. I mean, that's pretty impressive, you know. And they put a whooping on them. I mean, Chicago got some late points, but
oh yeah, of course, the prevent defense came in and but the reason why I give the nod though the 49ers, Ryan, is because they're 6-0, man. Until someone kind of knocks them off a little bit and shows them, I can't take that away from them. Kyle Shanahan is winning with a pure running game and a game manager that's a little bit overpaid, Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's working. That's the thing. It's working. He's the one who taught LaFleur. It's teacher versus student here in a couple weeks with 49ers and Packers facing off. And I got to give the nod to San Fran. With Breeze, I watched the Saints lose earlier this year. So that's the only reason I'm giving San Fran the nod.
I just feel like the teams that the Packers and the Saints have played so far to be 6-1, I think is more impressive.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It is. But that big old goose egg at the end of the loss column, it just to me, it puts it over.
Okay. Jay, what do you think?
I've got the Saints 1, the 49ers 2, the Packers 3. I've got the Carolina Panthers 4, and then I've got the Vikings 5. Carolina Panthers are legit, and they have legit number 1 receiver, and Curtis Samuel has stepped up. Christian McCaffrey is the jack of all trades and a hammer up the middle. Kyle Allen is – I don't know how Cam Newton gets back on the field.
I don't know how he wasn't drafted this year. I don't get it.
This happens all the time. I mean, Minshew was drafted in the 6th round, too, and he's proven that he's a very good quarterback, too. Right?
W today.
So, look, and I have the Packers 3 right now only because they